first house of worship built for people was that at Mecca, full of blessing and of guidance for all the worlds. Whoever enters it reaches security. Pilgrimage there is a duty which people who can afford the journey owe to Allah.
Why is it so important to go to Mecca?
Because the fifth of the 5 pillars of Islam is Hajj, the pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca. Every Muslim should perform this duty once during their lifetime, as long as they can afford to and are physically fit. Hajj takes place during the early part of the lunar month of Dhul Hijjah. It's the world's largest spiritual gathering, with pilgrims arriving in Arabia from all over the world at the rate of 340 a minute. Some people save all their lives to be able to come. Others have been paid for by their families or community clubbing together. Whatever their wealth or country, on Hajj they will all be equal, all united before Allah who created them. To show this equality, the first thing male pilgrims do is bathe and put on 2 white unsewn sheets. Women too dress simply, often in white. The pilgrim has now entered a state of ihram, purity, and must concentrate on prayer and worship. All should now strive to keep their minds at peace, and in spite of the hot temperatures and crowds, should behave at all times with humility and patience.
So what do they actually have to do?
The first thing is to go to the Masjid al-Haram, the sacred mosque, to greet the Kaaba. The prayer they will say over and over again is the Talbiyah, the answer to the divine call to come.
It is a beautiful place. Everybody prays towards the Kaaba, and when you see everybody praying towards this building, the impact hits you of exactly where you are, because you're not just praying towards a wall anymore. You're directly, you are there, you've reached, you know.
To see the Kaaba for the first time is very special to Muslims, knowing this is the place they face every time they pray. The first house of worship built by Ibrahim, the place that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, restored to the worship of Allah, the one true God.
Muhammad, final prophet.
In 630, Muhammad re-entered Mecca with a band of his followers. He rode into the city on his camel, circling the Kaaba 7 times and touching the black stone set into the corner. On entering the Kaaba, Muhammad threw out and destroyed all the idols which were kept there. He returned the Kaaba to the house of worship it had been at the time of Ibrahim. Although he now had control of Mecca, he was kind and forgiving to all its citizens. He encouraged them to worship Allah as Muslims. From this time on, Mecca has been the holy city dedicated to Allah, and no non-Muslim is allowed to enter it. Just as Muhammad did before them, the pilgrims start from the black stone and walk 7 times around the Kaaba in worship of Allah. This is called Tawaf. Many will try especially hard to touch the black stone. Embedded in the eastern corner, this stone measures some 20 centimeters across and was kissed by the Prophet himself. Those that can't get close enough will raise their right hand in greeting.
does it feel being there?
You come alive spiritually because you're in an atmosphere of all people from all over the world. You're not different races, not a particular race, all races, all colors, and everyone meeting for a common purpose, for the worship of Allah.
Well, the Sai is basically where you run between two mountains, and it's not as hard as it sounds. I mean, I had preconceptions thinking it was these two massive mountains and a dusty track, and it's not actually like that.
The two mountains of Safa and Marwa are now joined by an air-conditioned passageway with an express route for the old and disabled.
Why do this?
The pilgrims are following in the footsteps of Hajj, the wife of Ibrahim. Desperate for water, she ran between the two hills looking for a patch of grass or a tree or any other sign of water. When she returned to her son Ismail, she found clear, fresh water bubbling near his feet. This is the spring of Zamzam, which still flows. It symbolizes the soul's desperate search for that which gives true life.
The Zamzam was one of the things that really hit home for me. It tasted of milk, and I went blind when I drank it. I really don't know how to describe the feeling. It's like smelling a smell that you recognise but don't know where from. It's a kind of sweet, kind of non-tasting water. People drink it, people wash in it. People tying bits of their clothes to it, bottling it up to take it home.
After completing Tawaf and Sa'i on the first day of the Hajj, the pilgrims travel to the valley of Mina and spend the first night of the Hajj camped there.
To Allah belongs the mystery of the heavens and the earth, and the decision of the hour of judgment will be swift as the twinkling of an eye. For Allah has power over all things.
All Muslims believe in Akhirah, life after death.
So what happens when you die?
On death, the body is placed in the grave, and the soul remains in a state of waiting, called barzakh. On Judgment Day, Muslims will be brought to account for the way they have lived their life. If they have acted cruelly or selfishly on earth, they know they will not escape Allah's punishment. Jahannam, hell, awaits them, with its burning fires and eternal torment. If a Muslim has behaved well, they will spend eternity in Jannah, paradise, in a state of eternal joy and beauty, happiness and peace. But it's impossible to really imagine what awaits there, for both paradise and hell are beyond human understanding. For Muslims, it's enough to know they're accountable to keep them on the straight path, for no one knows when death might come. To many, Hajj is a foretaste of Judgment Day. Everyone is equal before Allah. Muslims believe that if they die while performing Hajj, a good action to please Allah, all their previous sins will be forgiven.
Where are the pilgrims now?
On the second day of Hajj, the pilgrims travel towards the plain of Arafat, where the Prophet Muhammad gave his farewell speech. His speech was shortly followed by this revelation of Allah's words.
This day have I perfected your religion for you, completed my favor upon you, and have chosen for you Islam as your religion.